This is a quick 2-minute tutorial on how to use the profitability calculator so that you can scale your ads with confidence and with your cash flow in mind. So in order to be able to use this calculator, you need 4 things. You need to have your profit margins on your cost of goods, so not as on your store as a whole, just on your goods. You need your ROAS, either the target you're aiming for or your current ROAS. You need to know how many units were sold through the ads, so any conversion that's had a touch point on the ads, and your average order value, which is again the average order value you're getting on ads rather than your store as a whole. Once you have that, you go down to the profit margin calculator, and I'm just going to take some figures out of thin air. For my ecom, I get my goods for £9. That's how much it costs to get it to my warehouse here in the UK. For example, VAT, fulfillment, shipping, that should not be included. This is just to get it to here. And I sell it for, let's say, 40 quid. The profit margin is then 77.5% markup, which is a really healthy profit margin for most e-com brands. I think all D2C brands should have a margin of at least 70% to be able to be profitable, to be able to afford marketing, ad spend, and all those other bits and pieces. The second thing you want to do is fill in your average order value. So let's say it's slightly above 40. Maybe I have some more expensive products that I'm selling. So let's say 42 for the sake of it. Let's say I sold 200 units through the ads this month and my target ROAS was 2.5. Well, that's the ROAS that I got. So as you can see, the revenue based on this would be 8,400. The profit that's left after you take out the cost of goods is 6,510. The ad spend required to reach these targets would be 3,360. And the most important one is the net profit. So this is how much is left after the ad spend is calculated for, after the cost of goods is accounted for. You're left with 3,150. In this scenario, it's probably quite profitable. Obviously, it's still quite a small spend. If you're having agency fees or other fulfillment fees, make sure that that covers the profit so that you're not just doing this whole marketing activity just to be able to afford your agency fees. So that's something I always like to bake into that. If you go down further, you can see the break-even ROAS, which again, take it with a pinch of salt because it does not include service fees, VAT, fulfillment, shipping, and so on. But it gives you a good indication of where your danger zone is, if you will. And if you go down further, you can see the different profits at different ROAS levels. So you have the best case scenario and the worst case scenario if you are scaling. Most e-com brands sit within a ROAS of 3 to 1.5, depending on seasonality, profit margins, offer that you have going. But this gives you a good understanding of what would happen if you were at the lower end or at the top level of the industry average, and you can scale with that in mind, making sure that you are considering your cash flow, right? If you go even further, you have a few different what if scenarios. For example, if you wanted to do free shipping shouldn't mean that you are making less money. If we have an offer going, we always expect to have an increase in sales volume if we're doing that. So let's say shipping cost £1.50, and if I just offer that and I swallow that expense myself, I would lose 300 quid. That's not what we want to happen. If we are doing this over a weekend or a specific period of time, we can then say we expect 15% increase in sales over that period because we're running this offer. All of a sudden, you've actually made more revenue or more profit than what you would have if you'd done it in a different way. And then you have a discount offer. So oftentimes there's a lot of misconceptions around profit. You're making less profit if you're running a discount, which is oftentimes completely false. If you're doing a discount, you can expect to acquire a customer at a cheaper rate. So we want to take that into consideration. Let's say for 1 month we do 25% off. If I just did that and I didn't have more traffic to the site, yes, I would make significantly less money, right? But let's say if we're running this offer, we're expecting a 30% uptick in customers, you see, okay, I would barely make any difference. Okay, so we need a lot more people to purchase for that to make sense. We maybe need a 40% increase for that to be profitable for us, right? And this is something to bear in mind if you're doing like a 10% off for new customers. Oftentimes what people do on the newsletter, how much do you expect that to increase conversions? Maybe not a lot, maybe only by like 8-9%. If you can get it over 14, it's like made a positive impact on your store. So it's worth giving them that first incentive to buy. And if you got good retention, good lifetime value, it makes even more sense to offer something like that for people to come through. And the final scenario you have is price increase. If you need to increase the price, currently it's selling at 40, right? Like we were going through above. Let's say we can't operate that cost, we're going to raise it to 45. Okay, we're going to make more profit naturally, but actually maybe less people are going to buy. Maybe we can expect a 9% decrease in sales. It would still be in our benefit. Like if this would be the case, we're still in the clear. So it's a really good way to understand how these different scenarios affects your cash flow and not just your revenue and your ROAS and your CPA, like actually understanding what that will do with money in the bank. So this is the ROAS calculator. I hope you find it helpful. If you have any questions or you're not sure how to reach it, you're always more than welcome to reach out to me on email or on my Instagram. And happy scaling. I hope you find it useful.